Aporophobia, one of the largest issues in our society today, yet no one knows about it. What does it mean? Why does this matter so much? How is this problem developed? Who is affected by it? And, most importantly, what are potential solutions to solve this problem? Hours of research and analysis have been conducted on this issue, and in the next 8 minutes, you will gain a better understanding of this topic to help determine these answers. I present to you the Aporophobia Project.
Pues el concepto de aforofobia lo desarrolló Adela Cortina ya hace unos años y básicamente lo que recoge es el rechazo al pobre por ser pobre, ¿no? Igual que tenemos el racismo que rechaza a las personas según su raza, pues la aporofobia rechaza a las personas por el hecho de ser pobres.
And I think this conference is so critical because it's enabled to tackle and think about the kinds of problems that are experienced by people at the bottom of society, but from a variety of different perspectives. And that interdisciplinary lens is crucial for us to try and make progress in incorporating these individuals into our society more fully to give them better lives.
Desde Caritas pues siempre lo decimos, ¿no? Nadie escoge el lugar en el que nace, ¿no? Al final cada uno le ha tocado nacer pues, por una lotería, pero el sitio en el que naces sí que te va a marcar y te va a condicionar muchas cosas en tu vida.
It's really opening my mind for many different factors. Number one, I'm not from Spain, I'm from the United States, so also seeing that there is a big homelessness and poverty issue in my country as well. It's really interesting to learn more about that, especially in other countries, and kind of tie those into how it may affect poverty and homelessness in my country.
You just saw a clip from an aporophobia event located in Spain, and hopefully you gained an improved perspective of its meaning. Aporophobia was a term coined in the 1990s by Spanish philosopher Adela Cortina to describe the rejection of the poor. It is officially defined as an adverse attitude by the non-poor toward the poor, ranging from antipathy, contempt, and disgust to disregard, fear, and hate. It all began when Adela Cortina observed that societies in general welcomed wealthy immigrants or tourists, but rejected and were hostile toward poor refugees. She argued that this bias was not a fear of strangers, but the rejection of the poor because they seemed to be unable to provide economic or social benefits. The devaluation of the poor has deep historical roots. For centuries, society has divided poverty into two categories: the deserving poor and the undeserving poor. The deserving poor are people who are unable to work because of age or illness. The undeserving poor are people who are deemed lazy or morally corrupt, which historically justifies harsh societal treatment. This can appear in many ways. For example, one way aporophobia can present itself is by viewing someone as less than equal simply because they have less money, whether those beliefs are expressed outwardly or held internally. On a greater degree, individuals could be treated with disrespect, condescension, or judgment in everyday interactions based on their perceived socioeconomic status, which is known as interpersonal classism. As you could see from the video clip, aporophobia is a worldwide issue, whether it be prominent in North America or Western Europe. And while I could go on about the innumerable amount of ways aporophobia can surface on large-scale levels, the only realistic way you and I can make an immediate difference is by reaching out nearby. Don't get me wrong, fixing the large-scale issues of this topic are important, but I believe it is even more beneficial to focus on what the individual person can do in our local communities to make a positive difference in the everyday lives of victims. Although many countries and organizations run programs to overcome this issue, it's still not enough. The International Bar Association is training legal professionals to detect, prosecute, and recognize acts of violence targeted at homeless individuals and the economically disadvantaged. The United Nations University runs academic research and data tracking programs to identify, analyze, and track aporophobia views across social media platforms. Other programs, like the European Federation of National Organizations Working with the Homeless, run public awareness campaigns to address discrimination against homeless and vulnerable groups. Additionally, the European Union co-funds the European Social Fund and Social Climate Fund, which are programs that fight social exclusion. This issue is increasingly recognized by international organizations as a distinct form of discrimination. Legally, Spain led the way in recognizing aporophobia as a factor for hate crimes in Article 22.4 of its criminal code. Other countries, such as Brazil and France, are also trying to implement similar legal tools to prosecute hate against the poor. From technology to education to legal systems, there's no doubt as to whether or not they focus on actually changing behaviors and shifting cultural standards rather than just talking about it. Even Adela Cortina herself made a book about it titled Aporophobia: Why We Reject the Poor Instead of Helping Them. But at the same time, they have mixed success. Not because what they're doing is wrong, but it's not enough. While many hate crimes are now identified as being aporophobic and the European Union officially adopted aporophobia frameworks, there is still a large amount of underreporting and geopolitical regression, especially in the US. Almost no other countries besides Spain have passed official aporophobia laws. Not enough common people are made aware of the problem, and forms of aporophobia are even being encouraged to a certain degree by some countries, such as the United States. Since this is what I like to call a person-to-person issue, large-scale programs run by countries can only do so much. In case you couldn't tell, this is where we come in. It doesn't matter your age, race, identity, where you live, or anything. Everyone should be responsible for and take part in this solution. The first step is to make people aware of the situation and help them understand that it's wrong. Not many people, especially in the United States, have even heard about aporophobia. They wouldn't even be able to identify it. Now that you know what it is, you're able to spread the word through technology like social media. Additionally, I feel that so many people today unknowingly participate in a less harsh form of aporophobia simply based on their mindset. Many individuals think it's the poor person's fault for their own circumstances, but they have less control over it than you would think. True, it's not 100% of the time where they could blame external factors. And sure, I'll admit a lot of homelessness could have been prevented if not for an earlier decision that shaped the rest of their lives or for a lack of work ethic that made them lose their jobs. But, more often than not, something else caused it. They couldn't choose where they were born, the type of family they were raised in, or whether or not their parents were successful. You can't decide the rising costs of healthcare and basic living necessities like food, a place to sleep, or clothes to wear. You can't predict when you have a medical crisis, when you lose your job, or when a natural disaster strikes. I'm not saying we actively hate these individuals, but I feel like as a society we try to avoid and not help them just because we have the arrogance to think that they don't deserve it. So please, make sure you don't take things for granted. Share what you have with others. To sum it all up, I believe we can make our local area better by having the right mindset about this issue. There's no funding needed for my solution. Simply making people aware of the issue and treating others who are less fortunate than us equally is a great start. While there are almost always going to be opposing views, opinions, and perspectives, I believe we can persevere and push through the opposition to meaningfully help individual lives. While the obvious solution would be to not treat those living in poverty with hatred, I want to go above and beyond. So I encourage you, instead of ignoring or turning away, acknowledge and lend a hand next time, because the one who blesses others is abundantly blessed, and those who help others are helped. You have been treated generously, so live generously. Mercy to the needy is a loan to God, and God pays back those loans in full.